Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are in Amrutanubhava, and the chapter that we are going through is Ajnana Khandana, meaning ignorance denied. And in this, what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is attempting is to bring our attention to this experienceless experience that we are, and it is a continuous one. And in that, there is no place for ajnana, there is no place for ignorance. And here the example was given, just like the sun cannot know the sunrise and the sunset, and in the 196th OV, can the juice drink itself or avoid tasting? And in this way, the thought is given that the truth is beyond the triputi of experience. And what is that triputi? The experiencer, the experienced, and the experiencing. And this is the same thought which is given in various Upanishads. Here the teacher says in Kenopanishad, we do not know, nor do we know how to teach about it. How we do not know what the truth is, and nor do we know how to teach that truth, because it is that essence of everyone. It is beyond the words and beyond the comprehension of the mind. And having given these examples, the conclusion is given in the 197th OV. Taise pahane na pahane, pahane paneci ho nene, ani don hi ene, swayeci asije. Similarly, the self, just like these examples, the self is the support for both knowing and not knowing. Hence, is neither the knower nor the not knower. This is the conclusion. Knowing is the waking and the dream. Not knowing is the deep sleep. And all these three are supported by the self, and therefore the Paramatma Tattva, which is of the nature of pure knowledge, cannot fall within the purview of the known or the unknown. And in existence alone, there is the possibility of seeing or not seeing. This existence manifests as knowingness. See, Satchitanand. So this existence manifests as whatever exists there is a knowledge about it, as knowingness. The knowingness undergoes two vikalpas, known as or called as the known and the unknown. So that pure existence, Sat, becomes Chit. That Chit is the knowingness, and that Chit undergoes the two vikalpas. That Chit then expresses as the known and the unknown. The known, the waking and dream; the unknown, the deep sleep state, or known, the name and objectivity, and unknown, the absence of objectivity. The truth is beyond the relative understanding of seeing and not seeing. Relative is only at the Prakriti level. Relativity is only at the knowingness level. But the Satta, the Sat, is beyond the pair of opposites. And all this is being said should lead to one point, and that is that one should drop the anxiety for self realization. One should not, yes, we say Vivek, Vairagya, Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. That Mumukshutvam is the urgency to realize the truth, but that is for a seeker who is in his to jumpstart him on this spiritual journey. And once he becomes purified, once he becomes single pointed, once he becomes aware of his own consciousness, then thereafter, this, as we reach that point of climax where the mind is about to drop, then don't keep the mind engaged by still thinking about realization. The teacher here says, Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, that self-realization is your nature, and even the desire for this self-realization has to be given up. Otherwise, the desire for self-realization will create anxiety in the mind, because that is the principle. Whether there is desire for the world or desire for self-realization, desire will lead to anxiety when it is not fulfilled. And therefore, one must not expect some experience. One must not expect, look forward to some change in his being, or in his, or that there is going to be some, like I spend $100 in a grocery shop and I get so much in return. I do so much pranayam and pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and I get a gain of chitta vritti nirodha, and the gain, and which leads to samadhi. But here, where the sahaj bhav, we are not looking forward to any samadhi abhyas, we are not looking for any experience, we are not looking forward to any gain. It is a gainless gain, and there should be, don't look forward to any change within you as a result of abidance. This is a very, very important point. Then alone the sahaj bhav, the sahaj sthiti begins expressing in such a person. As long as there is a desire, you are away from yourself. And in this way, all relative standpoints should be dropped, and one should start a life of just being purposeless. Existence is the truth. So, it's a bitter pill to swallow. We have to live a purposeless life. Yes, we have to live a purposeless life. And wherever there is a purpose, then you are looking forward to something. You want that there is a reason for your existence. Then you are caught up in cause and effect. Then you want some result as a result of your efforts that are being put towards that purpose. Here, Kathopanishad says that the absolute cannot be illumined either by the sun, the moon, the stars, or the lightnings. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. How can this little fire speech of ours ever hope to illuminate that truth, which is by which all this shines? Nema vidyato bhanti kutoyam agni. How can this fire, the element of fire, expresses as speech in our mouth? And how can this speech illuminate that truth? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. That truth, that is our essence, that is who we are, is beyond the speech, beyond the scope of comprehension by this mind, and therefore only where there is, only wherever that the existence is accepted to be limited, that I was born and I am going to one day die. I am a man, I am not a woman. I am a woman, I am not a man. I am a father, mother, daughter, sister. All these are specific existences. And when we relate to ourselves as some specific person, then there is a purpose for that person. But that infinite reality cannot have any purpose. and thus our what you can say, we have to discover that purposeless existence that we are. And in this way, Nachiketa asked Dharmaraja in a Kathopanishad that asked for that knowledge which is beyond dharma and adharma, beyond cause and effect, beyond past and future. But and he was very clear, even at that young age, that the truth is beyond all the opposites. So where should be our disposition? How should be our disposition be? Understand all this and go beyond. Now the next two OVs in this chapter give the meaning of seeing or not seeing Paramatman. It reflects the second chapter of the Keno Upanishad. Ze pahane tsi mahnaunia pahane nave apanaya taina pahane apasaya hatsiat ahe. The self-being of the nature of knowledge does not become an object of knowledge, and therefore it cannot remain unknown also. Very think with a cool mind. What is that? The self-being of the nature of knowledge. The pure self, this Atma, is of the nature of knowledge. It is of the nature of Jnana. It is of the nature of Satchidananda. And therefore, because it is of the nature of knowledge, it cannot become objective knowledge, because it is already of the nature of knowledge. And therefore it cannot remain. And because it is of the nature of knowledge, it cannot remain unknown. Unknown, how can self be unknown? Self is self-knowing. And how does it know itself? Without a thought, without an experience. And this point is going to be talked about in this next two verses. That which is not of that which is of the nature of seeing, the knowingness of seeingness cannot know or see itself. So this is what happens when one is on the seat of deep contemplation and you are seeing the objects in your mind, and somewhere in that process of self-contemplation, all the objectivity of the mind dissolves itself away, but you are still seeing. But you are seeing what? You are seeing nothing, some people will say. But nothing is not an object of contemplation. Nothing cannot be the object. Some object can be an object. It must have some parameters. Nothing has got no parameters. Emptiness has got no parameters. Absence has got no parameters. So in that absence, in that emptiness, in that nothingness, there is someone. Who is that someone? I am. Who is this I am? Can you deny that you are not there? You cannot deny. That means you know you are there. That knowing, the nature of the self is illumination. Illumination means seeing. And you know that you are, because there are no thoughts in the mind, so there is no thought eruption taking place. Yet the knowledge is taking place, that seeing is taking place. And this is what is told here, that this seer, this illuminator cannot illuminate itself, just as the sun cannot illuminate itself. The eyes cannot see themselves, the mind cannot feel itself, nor can the intellect know itself. Again, all these are, the eyes are there, the vision is there, it illuminates every object in the world, but it is incapable of illuminating itself. The eyes cannot see themselves. Similarly, the mind also cannot feel itself. and nor can the intellect know itself. It can feel everything else but itself. Intellect can know everything else but itself. In the same way, everything is illumined by the light of consciousness, but the pure consciousness cannot know itself. These are very, very subtle points to be contemplated upon. Here you are trying to intellectually ascertain by reading, by listening, but this what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is telling and what Swamiji is telling through the Jnaneshwar Maharaj's OVs, it has to be subjectively applied, not intellectually collect the information. So, just like that, just like eyes cannot see themselves, mind cannot feel itself, intellect cannot know itself, the self also cannot illuminate self. That which is of the nature of seeing, that because of which everything is seen, how can that be seen? And therefore, just because it is not of the nature of not knowing, it does not mean truth is not. Just because you cannot know it objectively. What? You cannot know the self objectively. Therefore, because you cannot know it objectively, because the mind, you meaning the mind, because the mind cannot or the intellect cannot know it intellectually, objectively, or the mind cannot feel it, does not mean that the truth or the self does not exist. It is there, it is in its light that the intellect is able to function, the mind is able to function. But their object of functioning, their area of functioning is in the objective world, not in, and they can never illuminate the source. The intellect can never illuminate, know the source, nor the mind can ever feel the source, nor the senses can ever see the source. So, in this way, here in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, 15th verse, Bhagavan says, I am the one who is worthy of knowing. The worthiness of knowing is that it cannot be known. Therefore, this existence, the Paramatma Tattva, is that because of which seeing is possible. So, conclusion is, it is the Paramatma, it is the Atma, it is the self, pure self, because of in whose presence all seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, knowing, all that is going on, but it itself cannot be known. The same idea is also expressed in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the Brahmananda Valli. I am the food. That food here means the field of experience, the stimuli. I am the eater of the food. That means I am the field of experience. I am the eater of the food means I am the experiencer, and I alone manifest as the eating. That is, the Upanishadkar is saying that that I am alone the experience also, meaning the food, the eater of the food, and the eating experience, everything is the eternal process. It is none other than that one reality playing with itself. Thus, one cannot know oneself because one is of the nature of knowledge. This we have to accept about ourselves. Because we do not accept this about ourselves, we are continuously going outwards, going into the world, collecting information, watching YouTube, seeing this short, that YouTube, this lecture, that lecture, study. That is why we are engaged in scriptures. If at all you are out there in the world, engage in scriptures. But if scriptures are also objective pursuit, that knowledge, until and unless that which is given in the scriptures it is not made subjective, till then we cannot come to know our own essential nature. As knowing is not possible, not knowing is not possible. So conclusion before was, knowing is not possible because you are of the nature of knowledge. Now not knowing also is not possible. आनी न पाहणे मा कैसे आपण पे पाहो बैसे तरी पाहणे आपैसे हा चिपुड़ती. And if he sees himself, how can it be not seeing? And he is the seen, he is in front of himself as seeing. In other words, if you know that you are, your mind cannot access the self. Mind cannot, intellect cannot know the self, mind cannot feel the self, eyes cannot see the self, and yet you know you are. Yet you know you are. So first point was what in the previous verse? That the self cannot be known because it is of the nature of knowledge. Now in this verse, self cannot be, how can it be not known? Cannot be not seeing because it is of the nature of illumination. He himself is the seen, he himself is the seeing, he himself is everything. How can one say that Atma does not see himself? When he sees himself, he himself is the seer as well as the seen. In Triputi, remember, Triputi is what? Seer, seen, seeing. He himself is the seer, he himself is the seen, he himself is the seeing experience. Just like we saw before in the where it was told that he is the food, he is the eater of the food, and he is the eating experience also. So in this way, all Triputis, experiencer, experienced, experience, knower, known, knowing, seer, seen, seeing, hearer, heard, hearing, and you can go on. All the three Triputis, it's nothing but that one reality alone. I do not say I have understood, nor does that mean that I have not understood. To the seeker in the initial stages like Arjuna, such statements seem contradiction in terms. See, in Kenopanishad it came that the student says, yeah, I came to know. The teacher says, if you know, you have not known. He says, Arey, I thought I had known, because the teacher told him that self cannot be known and I cannot teach you the self. You are the self. I am only teaching you what my teacher taught you, and my teacher told me that I cannot teach the self. So I am also telling you the same thing, that and when the student asks the teacher, what is this, what is that which inspires everything in us? So he says, it is the eye of the eye, it is the ear of the ear, it is the mind of the mind. And in this way, the student told him that to ask the teacher, why you are telling me, answering me in ambiguity? Why don't you tell me straight, this is that? He says, no, I cannot, because my teacher also told me that way only. So how can I tell you what is that? Because you are that. And here the student then goes and sits in one corner, and after some time he says that, yeah, I have understood. And when he comes back to the teacher says, if you have understood, you are not understood. If you are not understood, you have understood. Then he goes and sits down, and the student eventually comes and says, yeah, teacher, I have understood. I have understood that I have not understood, and I am the one who is beyond both understanding and non-understanding, because this is that which is both, and supporting the both yet beyond the both. Then teacher does not reply back to him, and the student goes into meditation. To the seeker in the initial stages, these contradictions are very confusing, and just like it was in case of Arjuna. So he says, you are confusing me, please tell me for certain which is right. In the Bhagavad Gita, he asked, and similarly it is said here, the truth is of the nature of seeing. He cannot, the truth, that is the Atma, it cannot become the object of seeing. This has to be very clear and applied on ourselves, that the self cannot become an object of contemplation. Therefore, seeing in the self, of the self, by the self, to the self is not possible. This is possible. Raise yourself, by yourself, in yourself, for yourself. This is possible. This comes in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You can raise yourself, by yourself, in yourself, for yourself. But you cannot see yourself, in yourself, for yourself, by yourself. You cannot do that. The same Paramatma Tattva manifests in its glory as the seer seen seeing, just like the glory of the sun is the many myriad of colors of rays that emanate from it. The glory of the ocean or the water is to express as the ocean and the waves, multiple waves and multiple oceans. Similarly, the glory of a man or a woman is to express as the father, the son, the husband, the uncle, etc. Similarly, the glory of the self is to express as the seer seen seeing, knower known knowing, experiencer experienced experiencing. This is the glory. It is not a fall. It is not the self has moved away from itself, therefore it has become three. That is not the correct approach. It is its glory. It is its vibhuti. Although the seer is seeing the scene is not other than the seer. So even though this is a very, only the Mahatmas, only those who are abiding in the self can directly know it. This is happening to you and me also at this same time, but we are unaware of it. Why? Incomplete knowledge. That is the chapter. And what is the truth? The truth is the material out of which this seer is made up of. What is the material? You will show it is material is the Panchatattvas. He is made up of the body, he is made up of the five senses, he is made up of the mind and intellect. But so also the scene is also made up of the same elements. Oh, but then how can the mind see the other mind? Now inert cannot know the inert. Then what is making this inert body, breath, mind, intellect, the panchakoshas activated? It is the consciousness. So that consciousness alone is the seer, that consciousness alone is the seen. So the material that has gone into making the subject and the object is one and the same. The material that has gone into making the ocean, the cause, and the effect, the wave, is the same, water. Exactly the same way, the material that has gone into making the knower and the known is the same material, the pure consciousness. How wonderful. Such being the case, the use of language such as the seer and as seer has seen the scene seems inappropriate. So that is when you come to this climax of contemplation, the language stops. After that, no more communication. And therefore, the scriptures again and again prompt us to keep your feet on the ground, but your mind should not engage in specifics. Your mind should be engaged in the essence. And this is the essence. This will reveal to such a mind. This was revealed to Jnaneshwar Maharaj. And he is writing his experience of realization. ही दोन्ही परस्परे नांदती ये काहारे बांधुनी ये रे nahi keli. These two opposites, seeing and not seeing, existing simultaneously in the pure self, thus became redundant in mutual cancellation. The seeing and non-seeing, thus these two approaches of knowing the self and knowing and not knowing, both are supported by and exist in the pure self. The self is the knower also, and the self is and self cannot be not known also, because it is of the nature of knowledge. And the knowingness in the presence of the known and the not knowingness in the absence of the known, both are supported by the same point called I. See, so where is this I manifesting? The the knowingness is manifesting when there is objectivity. Where is objectivity? In the waking and the dream. Where is not knowingness expressing? Not knowingness is expressing when there is deep sleep state, where there is no objectivity. But both these, that I know something and I don't know something. Why we have to go to waking, dream and deep sleep? Even when there is a thought erupting, there is knowingness. Between the two thoughts, there is not knowingness. Both are known by someone. Appearance of a thought or the knowledge of a thought and knowledge of no thought between the two thoughts is known by someone. And that is that point, that is the self. And these two, the knower and the not knower, are of the opposite nature. They bind each other in such a way that they get mutually cancelled. The eyes see opposite colors, the mind entertains noble and ignoble thoughts, yet the eyes and the mind remain the same. So the eyes see opposite colors. Eye has no color, the vision has no color, but it sees all different colors. Mind has no thoughts, yet it sees all good and bad thoughts. Contradiction. So, just as we saw the chapter before, the word sat cancels asat, the word chit cancels achit, anand cancels dukkham. Same way here, every color, red cancels the not red, the noble thought cancels the not ignoble thoughts, the goodness cancels the badness, and Jagrat Avastha gets cancelled by the Sushupti Avastha. And this way, this whole pair of opposites is just a game, just a leela that is going on, nothing to be taken seriously. And man, because of this incomplete knowledge, gets caught up in this pair of opposites and loses the plot. How is this mutual cancellation possible? Lord Krishna gives the answer in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Other than I, the Supreme, there is nothing superior or inferior. I alone manifest as the Supreme, the Ishvara, as the lower, the Jiva, or as matter, the lowest in the field of experience. All these manifestations are strung on me like gems on a string. In other words, the material cause of the whole creation. Where is the creation? Whether you take it outside or inside in your mind. The material cause of the whole creation is, the Lord is saying here, I am the material cause, the Ishvara. Here the Lord is taking the position of the Ishvara. He says, I am the material cause. And who is the maker of the creation? I am the maker of the creation. In other words, I am playing with myself. Do you accept that you are playing with yourself? Do you accept that in that play, in that game, in that leela, you alone are manifesting all the thoughts? Or are we succumbing to our thoughts? Sometimes we get doubtful thoughts, sometimes we get exciting thoughts, sometimes we get emotional thoughts. Take this position of Lord of the Ishvara. Think from the way the Ishvara thinks about his creation. That is the way to get out of the creation while living in the creation. Similarly, knowingness manifests as the waking and dream states, and not knowingness as the knowing of ignorance in the deep sleep state. And yet, I, the substratum, cannot be called as the knower or the non-knower. So, the knowingness expresses as what? As the waker and the dreamer. What is the waker knowing? Waker is knowing the waking world, dreamer is knowing the dream world. And what is the deep sleep state? Not knowing that there is no knower there. And yet all the three are illuminated by someone. In the presence of someone, they are appearing and disappearing. What is appearing and disappearing? The opposites. What are the opposites? The waker and the waking world. The dreamer and the dream world. The sleeper and the absence of everything. We can't say duality, but triputi: waker, waking world, and waking experience, and so on. So all of them are appearing. Where are they appearing from? Where are they manifesting from? The source is only one, and that source is ever unattached, unclutched, unaffected, uninfluenced by the triputis that are its vibhuti, that are its glory. Thus, here in this world, everything is well and equally balanced in quantity and intensity. Day with nights, birth with deaths, amount of light received in the Shukla Paksha with that received in the Krishna Paksha, etc. Thus, the world is maintained in a dynamic equilibrium of opposite forces which cancel each other out. So also health and ill health, experiencer and the experienced. This mutual cancellation can happen only because of the substratum I. So this is something that has to be observed, noticed in this world. That this whole world is not a chaos. It is a perfect, it's functioning in perfect equilibrium, a perfect balance. Where there is joy, there is sorrow. Both cancel each other out. Where there is gain, there is loss. Both cancel each other out. Where there is victory, there is defeat. Both cancel each other out. Where there is waker, there is waking experience. Both cancel each other out. And in this way, this world is a perfect balance, and all this balance is where there is two. Cancellation is possible where there is two. And we know this world is a pair of opposites. So these two are there only to cancel each other. Who knows this? Who knows that the waker and the waking experience get cancelled to be replaced by a dreamer and a dream experience? Then they get cancelled. Every moment a thought is appearing, the triputi is appearing. That triputi is getting cancelled by itself, and the next triputi appears. Who is knowing this? It is the self. It is it is happening because of the substratum. Without the substratum, this cannot happen. Without the substratum of the riverbed, the river cannot flow. Exactly the same way. Without the substratum of the I, the river of thoughts cannot happen, one after the other. Thus, the two opposites of knowing and not knowing are supported simultaneously by the same pure self in mutual cancellation. This is a bitter truth to be swallowed, that it is a purposeless creation and we are finding some purpose in this world. We're living with a purpose. Continue till you come to this point of understanding. The moment birth takes place, death is born, and it is not there is a lag period where there is sukh. At that very moment, the opposite is born called dukh. The moment birth is there, immediately the expiry date is born along with that birth. That is called death. And in this way, the moment birth takes place, death is born, beauty brings the thought of ugliness, youth of old age, etc. And in this way, that being the nature of the world and of the truth, one has to apply it in one's own sadhana, in one's own contemplation. Bhagavad Gita says in second chapter, everything has the same biography. It begins in time and ends in time. Everything, every objectivity, whether it is gross, subtle, or causal, whether it is an inert object or a sentient being, everything that comes into existence in this creation must go out of existence in this creation. That is the journey. Nothing can be, no object can be eternally present in this creation. Yes, you may feel that the mountain is eternal compared to your body. You will stay for maybe 80, 90, 100 years, but the mountain will be for millions of years. Compared to the mountain's life is very short compared to the life of the earth. The life of the earth is very short compared to the life of the sun. Life of the sun is very short compared to the life of the Milky Way galaxy. The life of Milky Way galaxy is very short compared to the whole universe. And in this way, everything is relative and one must not get carried away by this relativity. Therefore, nothing that comes and goes in an eternal process of change deserves to be taken seriously. Whole creation has to be played with. Play the role that you find yourself in. Don't become serious about the role. The only way to live is to avoid being overwhelmed by bias of any kind, because enmity and friendship, loved ones and the so loved one, nothing stays forever. Everything in this creation, the rule is one, that has come about will also go away. And therefore, to believe and accept and live with this frame of mind that this body that I am will continue forever and ever and ever is wrong conclusion. Same thing with our children, same thing with our relatives, same thing with our house, same thing with our possessions. Nothing is permanent, everything is relative. And therefore, with this understanding, when we approach everything, then we will not be disturbed. We will maintain the poise. Otherwise, in the absence of that, then someone passes away, we lose the plot of life. If our house is burned down, we lose the plot of life. No, it should not be that way. To the extent indifference is developed to these opposite types of thoughts, the truth is revealed. Your purpose is not to live life. The purpose is to live the life in the presence, being the truth. Live the life. And what is the truth? Truth is that who is uninfluenced by the opposite pairs. That means being a drashta and getting not influenced by the experiences, the mind reaches a point of relative quietness and develops sakshi bhav. Then after long abhyasa comes the nirvikalpa samadhi, And finally, one gets absorbed in one's own being, but the relative experience continues. One remains untouched like water on the lotus leaf. The mind is kept suspended and freed from thought, not by suppression, not by force, not by drugs, not by alcohol, nor by sleep, but by being aware of the various conditionings of mind which are coming and going. What is that frame of mind? You are the Sakshi. You are the Sakshi of waking, dream, and deep sleep, coming and going, and not getting influenced by that which is coming and going. And this is, so we saw all the steps of quietening the mind and going into nirvikalpa samadhi, then nirvikalpa samadhi becoming the sahaja bhav, and in that sahaja bhav you are not for anyone nor you are against anyone. You such a person, such a wise person functions in the world like the mirror. The mirror accepts everything, rejects nothing, but doesn't retain anything as a memory. Same way, a wise man also, being the Sakshi, being the witness, accepts everything that is coming, rejects nothing, but does not get attached and make a memory of anything. Everything in the world is devalued because now he has come to recognize he is the eternal witness, and in his presence the entire world of opposites, multiplicity, is coming and going, and that which is coming and going is also not other than the self. And therefore, why should I indulge in it? Why should I engage with it? Why should I react to it? He remains untouched by what is coming and going. But then we see Mahatmas doing, walking, eating. What you are seeing is the body. You are not seeing the consciousness. He is the everything in the world is devalued, and the mind ceases to oscillate, going in a yo-yo. So, just like a pendulum, it keeps oscillating. Sometimes left side, sometimes right side, sometimes left side, sometimes right side. There is a moment that it is in the center, but it's a very fraction of a second, and then again it sways to left, sways to right, sways to left, sways to right. Same thing is our life also. If we have not recognized that we are the witness, we also go into waking, and sometimes we go into sleep, then again into waking, then again into sleep, fluctuating. This is the spandan. Sometimes we are thinking, sometimes we are not thinking. Again there is a thought, then there is no thought, then there is a thought, then there is no thought. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are unhappy, sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are unhappy. So these opposites keep going on, and but the Sakshi is unaffected by this oscillation of the mind. The mind develops an abscess called thought around any foreign object to which value has been given. When the experienced and the experience are devalued, this abscess also dies away. Just like when some foreign objects enter into our skin, what happens? That skin becomes red. Then there is a swelling on the skin. Why? Because that object is there inside. That thorn has pricked us and it is still embedded inside. Then what do? Then we apply medicine, we go to a doctor, or we take a oil pen, and then we pry that thorn which has embedded itself, because of which swelling has taken place. We take it out somehow, and when we take it out, immediately in a few minutes the swelling goes down, and the skin comes back to be the normal. Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. What is that thorn? That thorn is a desire. What is that thorn? Thorn is that object, any object. That object can be relation, possession, time, space, objectivity. How does it get embedded in your mind? When you give value and importance to any object, gross, subtle, or causal, that object gets embedded in the mind. And that swelling of that mind at that point, just like there was a swelling on the skin, and your attention keeps going to the swollen skin and you keep scratching that way because it's hurting, exactly the same way, when that swelling in the mind happens, that is called a thought, or your attention keeps going to that because you only gave value to that object and now it has entered into your mind. How long will it stay there? For some time. Eventually it will go away. So, how will it go away? Well, some things go away quickly, but sometimes hurts, phobias, fears, attachments, relationships, we are not able to forget them, we are not able to dilute them, we are not able to dissolve them. And here the, 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 the way to dissolve all this is by giving no value to the experiencer and the experienced. Automatically, that person, that object, that time, that space, that situation, that contact, that memory, that desire, it will die its own death the moment you separate yourself from that desire, from any one of these. And that's the technology. You have to apply, experiment with yourself in small things, uh, uh, and eventually come back to your own essential nature. For the truth exists in mutually cancelling pairs of opposites. Nothing is to be added or taken away from the reality. The Paramatma is everywhere. Lord Krishna. So this example of the mind giving value to something and that particular object then becoming a thought in your mind or a desire in your mind, this was to explain that how it happens. But if your attention is on the truth, if our attention is on the self, and we recognize that this self is the source of everything, then uh, automatically these opposites which appear, they automatically get cancelled by with each other, because there is no one to give them value, there is no one to own these opposites, there is no one to give them validity. The problem begins when you give validity, then individuality begins. You don't give validity, you are the infinite. So don't try to empty your mind, don't try to fill up your mind, be the conscious principle that you essentially are. The Paramatma is everywhere. The Lord Krishna indicates 15 places where he can be located. The good and the bad taste, the good and the bad smell, etc. But ever with the same smile. And there are, and this way, uh, within us, Swamiji is saying that there are two eyes. One is the one which is the doubting eye, that is the ephemeral eye, and the one who is the witness eye, which is unchanging. And the, so one is the witnessing eye, and the other is the jiva eye, or the eye which comes with reference to an object. I see, then this eye goes away. I hear, then this eye goes away. Then I speak, this eye goes away. I was sleeping, that eye goes away. Now I'm awake, this eye goes away. But there is an eternal eye in whose presence all these individual eyes are coming and going. And uh, but that eternal witness never becomes the individual, never falls down from its pristine purity, and that is who we essentially are. Recognize you are not this changing I, but you are that eternal one. Be in that poise, be aware of that eternal presence that you are. With such a vision of the Lord, there will be no bitterness, only sweetness. That is the goal of spiritual evolution. No hatred, no bitterness, only an experience of ananda, adharam, madhuram. Uh, Wherever there is friction, there is discord. The only way is to surrender the individuality. So once we are born in this, we find ourselves to be an individual by, and what are we doing here by studying Amrutanubhava? Trying to dissolve who we are not and be who we are. That the Jnaneshwar Maharaj lives this surrender par excellence. Never did an expression of bitterness escape from him in spite of the excruciating persecution his parents and they themselves as young children were subjected to by the society. Advaita Siddhi and bitterness do not go together. And in this way, once we come to this eternal witness, and this witness alone is this pure consciousness, this witnessing consciousness alone is appearing as the subject and the object, and that subject and object is the whole world. Whom will we hate? Whom will we get attached to? Whom will we run away from? Everything is nothing but the self, and therefore, when everything is included in the definition of the self, then how can you hate yourself? How can you bitter to yourself? How can you resent yourself? Because everyone is the self alone. This vision, this is the epitome of abidance. This is the epitome of self-realization. Universal love. Then the whole universe is the self alone. The true seeker should develop this vision of the absolute. All else needs to be dropped. This is very important, OV, which forms the very core of deep contemplation. And in this way, what we have seen in this particular verse, OV number 200, that firstly, the self, just like the sun and its vibhuti, the sun rays, the self and its vibhuti is all the triputis. And these triputis, even though they are there, seen in the world, the self is untouched, uninfluenced, uncorrupted by the triputis. And then once you understand this, once you experience this, that you are the witnessing consciousness, and now who is this witnessing consciousness? I am the witnessing consciousness also, and I am the Father also. Now which one am I? Now here you have to be careful. I am the waker also, I am the dreamer also, I am the father, mother, daughter, sister also, and I am the witnessing consciousness also. So which role should I be taking? Recognize. Which one comes and goes? That you are not. That which never comes and goes? That you are. So witnessing consciousness is always, it's ever and ever and ever. The Father comes and goes. The Father, I the Father comes and goes. Then I the Son comes and goes. I the Waker comes and goes. I the Dreamer comes and goes. So whichever I is coming and going, give it zero value, give it zero importance. All relativity has to be given zero importance. Instead, be the witnessing consciousness, knowing that, and this witnessing, the more we come toward being the witness, automatically the whole transformation of the mind will automatically start happening. The moment we start cleaning the mirror which was foggy, Before, with a foggy mirror, we could not see anything. Now, once we start cleaning the mirror of the mist on it, automatically you didn't create the reflection. Reflection automatically happens. Crystal clear. Exactly the same way. When we become clearer and are not foggy about who we are the witnessing consciousness. Then automatically all the fog, slowly, slowly. What is the fog? The fog is the confusion, the doubts, the and that confusion and doubt whether what is my role, what is my purpose, I want to make an impact in this world. Uh, 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 the life is too difficult, life is too easy. All these thoughts, they just dissolve away by themselves the more we accept ourselves as the witnessing consciousness. The fog is removed, and then you see the whole world as the image of the self. And if the whole world is the image of the self, then how can there be any kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya towards that world which is none other than the self? Then there can be no attachment, there can be no desire, there can be no love or hatred. Then everything is accepted, nothing is initiated in life then. Then you just flow with life. And how do you flow with life? By remaining the eternal witness. That is where that eternal witness itself is the Paramatma, in essence. And in this way, Swamiji says that this is one of the most important OVs in this Amrutanubhava. Read it again and again, contemplate on it again and again, and we'll conclude here for today, and we'll take the next OV in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Just sit quietly for a few moments. Hari Om.